Guru Radhe Radhe Guru Guru Radhe Guru.
Hello and welcome. In this new episode of My Time with Radha, I speak with Draupadi about her time with Swami Radha. We talk about the theme of power as Draupadi reflects on the power of curiosity and its value on the spiritual path. Hi, Draupadi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
Yes, so good to have you here. I'm so excited for our conversation, and I believe that you would like to begin with the Divine Mother prayer this morning. So I'll let you lead that as you feel ready.
O Divine Mother, may all my speech and idle talk be mantra. All actions of my hands be mudra. All eating and drinking be the offering of oblations unto thee. All lying down prostrations before thee. May all pleasures be as dedicating my entire self unto thee. May everything I do be taken as thy worship. O Divine Mother.
Thank you for that. Yeah, may everything I do be taken as thy worship. And I hope that this conversation with you and this recording reflect that sort of as an offering to the ashram and all the listeners and to ourselves too. So when and how did you first meet Swami Radha?
Well, I had been doing Iyengar yoga for a number of years, first in the Palo Alto area for 4 or 5 years, and then I moved to Berkeley. I was involved with a Gurdjieff group. I'd left my job and what I was doing. And so that didn't work out very well for me. I stayed involved with it, but it was very difficult and trying, dark. And the yoga is what kept me going, the Iyengar yoga. And then one day there was a poster saying that Swami Radha was going to do a workshop there. And she had a very interesting face, and she was older than the teachers that I've been taking classes from. So it looked interesting. So I decided I would go. So the morning of the workshop, I was in the yoga room and sitting on the floor with everybody else in my leotard and shorts. And then Swami Radha walked in with 2 other women, and they were, all 3 of them, wearing dresses. And I think the other 2 took their shoes off, but Swami Radha walked across the room in her heels. They were low heels, but walking across the room and to the front. And she had recording equipment, and they had other things, which I think probably now looking back on it were papers and pencils, because she was introducing the hidden language, Hatha Yoga. And so when I saw all of them in dresses, I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. And it was. It was a pretty full workshop, and she had us all stand, and she probably introduced it. I don't remember much except that we did the mountain pose. And that was the only pose we did. And then we wrote. And then she had each person read their paper, and she made some comments for each person. And that was the whole workshop. And I was amazed, and I was satisfied with that for a workshop. So before, when I was taking the Iyengar yoga, I was noticing that the sitting forward bend, that it would put me into an introspective mood. It would slow me down and look inward. And then with the back bends, like even Warrior One, is just that opening, and it would lift my mood and stuff. So of course I like the back bends. But even right from the start, the mountain pose was a pose I would go to, and like wherever I went, if I had to stand, I would stand into the mountain pose. So standing taller and steady, and it probably really helped me to find my ground and to stand my ground in circumstances. But so I felt like there was something more to the yoga than was being taught. And so I would ask the teachers, I would say just that, there's something more. What is it? But they had no idea what I was asking, which I didn't either. And they did try to steer me towards the 8 limbs of yoga. And of course, that was all starting with Sanskrit words, which couldn't even pronounce them. So that didn't draw me in. When Swami Radha had us reflect on the mountain pose, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. And so that hooked me in. And I noticed that she was giving a talk at another place in Berkeley. So I went there, arrived at the last moment, stood in the doorway. And that's what she had told me, is that I needed to open some more doors, a few more doors. So it was like, well, I got put right into that situation. And at that talk, Swami Yasodhara led the divine light invocation. And my experience of the light invocation was that in the standing in it with my eyes closed, the light was brighter than when I opened up after the light invocation. So I was intrigued by that. And because I was seen at that talk by someone who decided they would lead one of Swami Radha's classes, I think it was Dream Yoga, I was invited to that class, so I took it. And then eventually, leaving the Gurdjieff group, then I went to the ashram for the YDC. I did find the Kundalini Yoga as intriguing as the hidden language. Like the first questions that we were asked is, who am I? What is the purpose of my life? What gives my life meaning? Is like, who can answer these questions? They are so big. And then a couple of weeks later is, what do sex, birth, and death mean to me? And it's like, oh my God. And yet I felt like if someone was asking me these questions, then either they knew the answers or they knew how to direct me to find my answers. And that is what I found what Swami Radha's teachings was to direct me to find my answers, not to give me answers. And she was clear about that up front, that she was not going to take the thrill of the discovery from the student, and recognizing that that thrill of discovery was what gave the energy to continue studying and to keep looking deeper.
Yeah, and at times, I mean, I've experienced that too, of the idea like the answer is in you. The teachers at the ashram very often don't give you a straight answer. And that's both lovely and at times, of course, very frustrating. But I wonder, you spoke about how the teachings resonated with you, especially through the hidden language and your first impressions of them in the mountain pose. I wonder, what were your first impressions of her, of Swami Radha, as a person?
Well, to see this woman walk into this room where everybody's in shorts and athletic gear, and her dressed up, and she was just who she was. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. And I was able to take a few workshops with her when she was in Redwood City. And she was direct with people. She didn't try to sugarcoat it or make it easy for you. And it was hard. I tried to make a joke about it one time, and she just not having any of that. And I felt bad. And Kathy Maynard, who was the person leading the Shambhala house there, she talked to me later, and then I thought about it and then came back and talked to Swami Radha the next day and said that, I had thought about it and that I realized that she didn't need to do that. I mean, she could have, it wasn't easy on her to be that direct with people and have them upset with her. There was nothing in it for her. And she really appreciated that someone recognized that. And so after that, it was like we had this understanding of respect for each other. I mean, it was always there for her, but I put her on a pedestal and was fearful of her. And then having this encounter where sort of like that fear was realized, but it opened something up. So then, I'm not saying the fear was gone, but there was a ability to work around that fear.
Yeah, her fierceness.
Yes.
And how did your relationship with her develop? I mean, you've mentioned that she kept kind of coming back to California and you took a few workshops. When was it that you went for the YTC?
1985. And so I went there from Berkeley. And then when I stayed at the ashram from January through September. And then when I came back to the South Bay, to Sunnyvale. And so that was, Redwood City is on that side of the bay. So she was actually closer. She used to come there for the winters because it was a little bit easier on her with her arthritis. So she had a master bedroom in the Shambhala house, and it had a big walk-in closet. So she made the closet her bedroom, and the bedroom was like her office meeting room where people would come and talk to her. Kind of amazing how she just didn't have to have all this space or anything and just use what she had. And so then there would be a couple of workshops each year when she was there, and like about 20 people in straight walk or music and consciousness. And she would give an introduction like on a Friday night, and then we would do so like music and consciousness, going through 7 pieces of music and writing. And then you would go home Friday night and write your paper and come back Saturday morning, and she would start going through each person's paper. So each person got individual time with her. And she recorded them, and then it highly suggested that you record your own. So there are all these tape recorders from her. And because she recorded them, we have all this material at the ashram. First, it was just tape recording, but eventually she was video recording the classes and the satshangs. So there's a lot of material. And for me, that's not easy to always be on camera or someone recording everything I say, but she did it. She had foresight that it would help carry on the teachings after she was gone.
Yeah, of course. And also for her books too, a few of the books I know for sure for Time to Be Holy as like a collection of her satsangs that were recorded and then transcribed, and that process. I wonder if, because I know a little bit about the Shambhala house and sort of its purpose, but I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about that to serve as a reminder of what that was and how it existed.
So Swami Shivananda had told her that she would be taking the teachings to the West, and then after creating the ashram that she would be sending out people to centers. So this was, the Shambhala house was the first part of that, creating centers, and she sent people from the ashram to different places in Canada. So the States, the laws are a bit different. So anyway, so Kathy and Tom owned the house in Redwood City, and they offered it as a center. So they still owned it, but they really opened it to Swami Radha. And so like the second floor was pretty much the master bedroom, and then this big room was the classroom. And then when we had workshops, then people were there all day, and so eating and all that.
Mm-hmm. So it was sort of like the idea of the Radha houses.
They became Radha houses late.
I see. Okay, yeah, that different terminology. Yeah.
and now Yasodhara yoga centers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Wow. Well, and you've already spoken a little bit about the practices that you felt really connected with, but I wonder if you can speak a little bit more about that, like the practices and how they resonated with you over the years, and then how your relationship with them developed.
Yeah, so I came in through the hidden language Hatha yoga, and it is still my first love, I guess. But I so appreciate the Kundalini yoga because it also requires so much reflection. And when I get off balance or feeling depressed or bad about myself, I can pick up the Kundalini book and just open it anywhere and take something and reflect on it. And it will help me get back to center. So just trusting the teachings in that way. So the practices are also important. And so I did resonate with the divine light invocation right away to feeling that the light was stronger right away with my eyes closed. And the mantra, when I caught myself being afraid or depressed, is saying the mantra. And then each time, just keep saying it and finding that I was believing it a little more every time I said it. And so it was starting to redirect my thoughts and being able to appreciate that.
So it sounds like you connected with them all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful teachings from a powerful woman. Is there a specific moment or memorable moment that has been really special for you in your time with her, with Swami Radha? I'm sure there's many, actually, but will you share one?
So in the fall of 1995, she did a mantra initiation, September 8th. So inviting all her students. And then there were people that weren't her students that heard about it, and they came too. And she gave them the mantra initiation as well. I'm not sure how many people were there, but it was over 100. So then the next day, she tried to meet with each person that was still there. So giving them a few minutes of her time. And then she said I could sit with her for a while and while she was talking to different people and stuff. So just sitting there in the room with her, and that was an honor.
Mm-hmm. Just being in her presence, it sounds like, especially after such a special day. Yeah, so then you receive the mantra initiation, and I believe that Draupadi, your name, is an initiated name also. Is that correct?
That's from the Brahmacharya initiation.
I wonder if you can speak a little bit about the process of choosing that name, because I know I had previously, when we had spoken, I was talking about how that figure of Draupadi, how special she is to me. And so I would love to hear about the process of you kind of landing on that and how it kind of came to be for you.
I took the yoga development course again in 2014. That was the second time. And by then, the Mahabharata had been made into a movie, 3-part movie. And we watched that as part of our study of the Bhagavad Gita. And then we were asked to choose a character that stood out for us. And I chose Draupadi, not thinking, that it would mean anything beyond this course. But I chose her because it seemed like then things that happened in her life that were the decisions that she made, that they turned out to be more than she or anyone would expect. They went a different way, and yet she stayed with them. And she had the opportunity to not do that, but she did. And so I really admired that loyalty and the perseverance to work with conditions that were hard and to keep going.
Yeah, and I'm sure many who have taken the YDC have also watched the Peter Brooks rendition of the Mahabharata and perhaps felt that connection to her as a character also. Yeah, I think she's, for me, like really represents a sense of power, which again, I've been kind of cheeky in choosing the themes in my recent conversations of kind of going along with the either initiated names of people that I'm interviewing or just keeping in mind things that I know about them. And so for our conversation with you, inspired by your chosen name, landing on the theme of power. And before we dive into the theme a little bit more, I'll read a poem, or not a poem, but a quote. I guess many quotes could be like poems, especially Swami Radha's writing. But I'll read a short passage from Time to Be Holy on the theme of power. Swami Radha writes, "We are not powerless. Look at the powers we already have. Surrender is one power. Gratitude is another enormous power. Acquire these powers, cultivate them, and use all of them wisely." So Draupadi, what does power mean to you? And how has it been a part of your experience with Swami Radha and with the teachings?
Well, when I think of power, my first thought is like the Mahabharata battle, fighting and might and trying to have power over, so being the top person. And so just seeing that in the world today, how much destruction and waste there is from this trying to be the dominant power. And so when Swami Radha talked about power, there was something else there. So even like talking about surrender as being a power, and that could be thought of as the opposite of the battle, ending the battle by surrendering. And then I think about this a younger yoga class that I was in, and I actually think it was the warrior pose that we were doing, when the teacher told one of the students to surrender, and they just went limp. And he said, "I didn't say give up. It said give in and be the warrior." So that was an interesting take on surrender. So Swami Radha talks about choice as being a power, the power of choice, and that we don't often recognize that we have choice in many situations. And so coming back to that and recognizing that, and curiosity for me has been a power that's kept me going in times that were difficult, when I wanted to just give up, but being curious about what would happen if I went on. And it often propels me to look deeper. And that's what really advocated, was to reflect, to question, and to keep going deeper and deeper, to question your answers to your questions. And then just let go of what doesn't work and keep trying. And to keep going back to the divine and asking for help and working with the practices.
Yeah, that's a really big one for me, like thinking about the power of the teachings and their ability to continue on and still continue to be spread after so many years, and to still attract young people, old people, and attract various groups of people too. And so thinking about that, and also the power of Swami Radha, like here we are 60 years after the beginning of the ashram, like still talking about her and people wanting to listen. I think that's a great power within itself.
Yes. I mean, her life was so inspirational. And she had every reason to give up or to be selfish about it. And so that question of what is the purpose of my life? And she keeps saying over and over, it's to develop your spiritual side, to be able to help others, so not to be selfish about it.
Yeah. And I wonder, what are your thoughts on the power that she had? I know earlier you spoke a little bit about her straightness or her fierceness. How did you see power manifest in her?
So there was that straightness and the respect for the teachings and for every person. It's like someone would annoy me and I'd be willing to write them off, but she didn't. She kept looking for something in them to bring forward. So there was that.
What do you think she brought forward in you?
Well, she certainly encouraged me to really take a stand and to be strong in the things that I was standing on, and to keep, like I said, to keep opening doors to, like, she had confidence in me when I didn't have confidence in myself. Knew things and could do things that I didn't think I could. So encouraging me to teach when I didn't want to get up in front of people, was afraid that I couldn't remember how to do things, but I did. I knew how to teach. It was that taking the focus off myself and putting the focus on others to encourage them. And so that's what she was doing to me. And so now doing it for others.
Yeah, it sounds like she saw the powers that were in you that maybe you weren't seeing yet. Yeah, that's beautiful. She should, like, even in the quote, it's, "We are not powerless. Look at the powers we already have." She's like doing that for all of us. And how do you connect with Swami Radha today in your daily life? How is she present for you?
Well, I have her picture in several places on my computer. I do hidden language every day, doing the light every day. So it's just using the tools that she gave me and just that respect for her, honoring her.
Speaking about her?
Yes. Staying connected with the ashram. And
yeah, I think she's very alive in the teachings. And like you said, the use of images, like she writes so much about the power of images to remind us things we may have forgotten. And I think there is great glory and power, again, of having her images around. I have a beautiful photo of her as well on my altar. And it's a very playful photo. And I love looking at her. And just as that reminder that she existed and she exists and her teachings are here for us.
So many years, I will read her diary along with the time period that it happened. So starting, I guess, the end of August, and reading each day along with her. And so taking her journey again. And then seeing how she developed confidence, that she didn't have it at the beginning either. But I mean, there was to take this journey and to take the things that she had to take with her. We can take a cell phone and she had to take a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and just how much easier we have it than she did.
Yeah, or even like the space of the ashram, like so comfortable and accessible. Whereas in her diary in that book, she writes so much about the discomforts of Swami Shivananda's ashram and the bedrooms and the bugs and...
Yeah, no bathrooms.
No bathrooms. So I forgot about that one. Yeah, what a unique idea to be reading it kind of side by side, the months that you're moving through as well. I forgot that they are dated indeed in the book. It's a wonderful idea. Is there anything else you would like to share about Swami Radha, feelings towards her, or any last thoughts?
I did go back and I was looking at some of my notes, and she talked about that the ideal of many religions is to be able to love everyone. And she said, sometimes that's not possible. But what you can do is give respect to everyone and to look for the divine in them. So she was very practical in that she didn't just leave you hanging. She gave you a direction to start.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for that. Well, I'm so grateful that you've had this conversation with me and your time with Swami Radha. All very precious.
Thank you. That's very good to talk about her. Thank you. Namaste.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. Yasodhara Ashram is located on the unceded traditional territory of the Tanaha and Sanaikst peoples. You can learn more about the ashram by visiting our website at yasodhara.org. You can also follow us on Instagram and YouTube. Until next time, I'm Katie Taher, and this is My Time with Radha.